This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 66.
Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Lynn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. To give you a little bit of context for today, I went to my first cacao circle. Cacao is a very pure form of chocolate that you drink as part of spiritual ceremonies. Some people just drink it recreationally because it's known as a heart opener. I know some people who drink it every morning with breakfast just to create a more open space and to be in a place where they can reflect more or process more. It's also used in a lot of ceremonies and rituals too, especially when you set an intention and you set a purpose. It can have some really profound effects just showing up with a particular intention. I've heard about cacao talks. I've seen them on newsletters. I know that they've been happening around town. I met a coach who hosts her own with other highly sensitive people. So I decided to go to this one because I wasn't going in cold. I actually knew people. And I had this outpouring of emotion today that I had been holding in. I was keeping all of this emotion inside and creating all this capacity for it and trying to feel it. And I realized I just needed to put it down. Sometimes expanding your emotional capacity, if you've been following the last couple of episodes, involves taking a mental and emotional break. Sometimes when you're very growth oriented, it can feel easy to keep pushing forward, to keep trying to expand your container and to go outside of your comfort zone. There's a natural retraction and contraction process that happens during the expansion process. There's a natural give and take. It's that yin and yang. I went to this cacao talk this morning. It definitely made me feel like I released some things. I was ready to move forward and put down some emotional aspects so that I was free for other things. I've been channeling all day and really paying attention to what has been going on with my clients that I've worked with today and earlier this week, what's been going on with my mentees. The topic for today, now that you have all of this context, is discounting your progress because you haven't received a result yet. This is really important for highly sensitive people like us because we tend to move the goalposts on ourselves. We have very vivid imaginations. We have this very powerful internal landscape. We have high standards for ourselves. So we expect a lot from ourselves and we know how to follow all of these rules. Sometimes that can work against us if we're not really paying attention and creating awareness and managing our minds. We get so focused as big picture thinkers, especially if you're a highly sensitive person who considers yourself very intuitive. We can think about things in these big ways. And we make ourselves wrong and use our high sensitivity against ourselves when we feel like until we reach that result, we cannot be happy or satisfied or content or calm, that we need to keep pushing ourselves and using our growth mindset against ourselves until we reach a particular result. This shows up with lots of different thoughts, and I will give you a sampling of what I've heard lately from my highly sensitive people. This sounds like I'm behind on everything. It's just too much. I can't keep up with everything. I feel like I'm falling behind. This isn't sustainable. I don't know how to X. I don't know how to put my business out there, have a more productive conversation, create emotional safety for myself, regulate myself, be okay feeling my own emotions. I let life happen to me. All of these thoughts are versions of it doesn't count. What I'm doing right now doesn't count until I've reached the result. This goes back to a concept I've talked about in previous episodes, which is the difference between the victim mindset, the worker mindset, and the creator mindset. The victim says, once I have the thing I want, then I can do the things I want and be the person I want. When you're stuck thinking you have to have something in order to do and be the person you want to be, that's when you constantly move the goalposts on yourself. Even if you have a ton of evidence, you still treat yourself like a victim of your life and that things just happen to you. You don't have agency. You don't have choices. You don't have control over what happens to you, and you're reacting to things. This is a perspective that you can take. Another perspective, another way of seeing the world, is the worker mentality, which is the more I do or the more productive I am, then I will have the things that I want. And then I can be the person I want to be once I have those things. It's just a slight reversal, but the key is in taking a lot of action. I've talked about this again a lot on the podcast about how to break out of that productivity cycle where you're taking action for action's sake, but you're actually not making any progress towards it. The third way, and why this is very important for this whole concept about discounting yourself, highly sensitive person, this is the creator perspective. The creator perspective is, who do I want to be and what is the identity I'm building towards my dreams? What does that person do? And then the things I want to have will naturally come from being the person I want to be and doing the things I want to do. It's a be, do, have perspective. When we have these thoughts that it's too much, it's not sustainable, I don't know how to do this, and various versions of it doesn't count, then we keep ourselves stuck in this victim mentality. Our reticular activating system, which is the part of our brain that we direct towards certain things. This is the same thing where if I tell you how many black cars are there on your street and you look for black cars and I say, okay, how many red cars are there? You wouldn't be able to tell me because you were counting the black cars. This is the same thing. Your cognitive bias will look for the things that you tell it to look for. So if you're telling yourself that none of these things that you've done count, that you haven't made choices, that you're living your life on default, that you are letting things happen to you, your brain will look for evidence of those things. This is what creates overwhelm, and it's what creates stress. This is how we get into emotional burnout. This topic has come up in every single coaching session I have had this week. How can I maintain my emotional capacity and do the things that I'm doing with a sense of lightness and feeling like I'm in control of it, not stressed and suffering over it? When you're stuck in discounting the progress that you've made until you reach the result, that's when you trigger your perfectionism or completionism for many of us highly sensitive people, that it doesn't count until it's complete. This is when you start procrastinating. This is when you avoid. This is when you distract yourself because your thoughts are creating the results that you're not making it count, that you're not doing enough, that it is too much for you. Your actions reinforce that. This is a cycle from thoughts to emotions to actions to results. Whatever you're thinking, your brain will create those results because your brain wants to be in harmony. Your brain wants to corroborate whatever thoughts you're thinking, so it will create results and look for evidence that determines the thing that you're thinking. The beautiful thing about this is that you can choose to change your perspective at any time. You can choose to stay in the black and white thinking of pass or fail. I've either achieved the result I want or I haven't achieved the result I want. I'm miserable if I haven't achieved the result, or I'm happy when I have achieved the result. You can shift your perspective. The most powerful perspective shift that you can take is the creator mindset. You start from your belief. It starts internally, and then you start to create external results and look for external evidence. I remember getting very caught up in how I grow my business when I first started it 3 years ago. And I remember asking my mentor, Emily Otto, how do you get people to believe in your business? How do you get them to believe that you have something of value to offer? I love what she says. The universe is a call and response song. So you call it out, the universe responds. What she was really saying is that it starts from you first. The belief starts internally, and then the external world reflects whatever is going on in your internal world. Now, the gift and the curse, highly sensitive person, is that your internal world is so vivid, so detailed, so powerful that whatever you have built internally will be reflected to you externally. Even if you have lots of evidence to the contrary, you won't see it because that's where you're directing your brain. I came up with a great metaphor with my client earlier that your brain is like a cat. Many of my highly sensitive people have cats. I have a couple of cats. They're very lovable and have their own personalities. They like things a certain way. If your cat is misbehaving, it does not help to scare the cat. It doesn't help to yell at it. It doesn't help to hit the cat or the dog, if that's your furry creature. You don't mistreat your pet in order to try to train them. You redirect them. The most effective way to get your pets to do what you want them to do is to distract them and give them something else that you want them to focus on. So for instance, with cats, if your cat is clawing on your furniture, you put a scratch post right next to the furniture and you keep redirecting your cat to the scratch post so that it doesn't destroy your couch. Our cat Mal, for instance, loves to get up on the table and eat all of my floral bouquets. I have to distract him by giving him a toy. This is exactly what you're doing when you are redirecting your brain away from thoughts like it's too much, this isn't sustainable, I'm always behind, I'm never going to catch up, I'm never going to get my result. This doesn't count. You are redirecting your cat brain with a lovely toy towards something more powerful, something more purposeful, something more intentional. That could mean that you're acknowledging the process that you're in and the journey that you're in along the way, even though you haven't reached the result yet. This is a huge shift, highly sensitive person. I've actually been working on this one for the last few years because I remember listening to Brooke Castillo on the Life Coach School podcast talking about having gratitude before you've reached your goals. And I thought, I don't understand how to do that. How can you have gratitude when you don't have the thing that you want? And the key is to find the things that you already have that you already wanted. You've already reached goals. You've already proven to yourself that you have the qualities and the characteristics that you want. You've already proven to yourself at some point that you're resourceful, that you're capable, that you can be decisive, that you have purpose, that you can be the person that you want to be. I know that you have evidence that you can do that. Because we all do. We all have all of these things inside of us. Where you are right now comes from choices that you've made in the past. It comes from desires that you've had previously. If you heard my last episode on the big power in small dreams, that's exactly how your current life and your future vision happens. You come up with lots of little small dreams and milestones along the way so that as you're moving forward, you can acknowledge them. That's the only difference between someone who really reaches their goals and feels great along the way and someone who reaches their goals and suffers the entire time and then doesn't celebrate it when they reach their goal and actually gotten the result. They just move on to something else. It's your ability to stay present to the process and be in the moment. So here are a few examples that I've had with clients lately. One of them has a few areas, including her business that she's working on, but she also has some very personal family things that are coming up as well. In addition, she was not doing her exercise routine and doing her physical self-care that she really leans on to feel good during the week. So her thought was, I'm behind on all of these things. I'm not focusing on any of them, and therefore I'm not making progress on any of them. And our reframe for that is that she actually gets to choose which things she's going to focus on at any one time. I also love her thought that she planted seeds for everything that she currently has in all three of these areas right now. She has appointments set up. She has exercises and actions to take. She has new thoughts to think because she previously planted the seeds for those things. When you acknowledge the process along the way and that you chose these things, you get to do these things, suddenly you take the power back and you're not discounting, you're actually acknowledging every step along the way. I have another client who was feeling very downtrodden today and feeling like she's wasted many years of her life. She was living by default, life was happening to her, and she felt very unsettled. By the end of the session, we were talking about all of the things that are definitive in her life, all of the things that are settled, and all of the choices that she made along the way to get there. She chose to stay in her current apartment and has been there for the last 5.5 years. She chose to buy her furniture, the ones that she loves right now. She chose to change careers. She chose to get into her relationship and when it wasn't working, to get out of her relationship. She actively chose every step along the way. And I love her new thought that she gets to make and unmake her choices whenever she wants to. That is a really empowering choice. None of my clients have their dreams yet, but they're in the process. Every single session, every single week, every moment, they're making choices that are moving them towards their dreams. And they actually have versions of what they want right now. They just want more of it. I have another client who was telling herself that she is an amateur. She doesn't know what she's doing. So she felt stuck in growing her business because she wasn't sure what actions to take. In reality, she's gone into other people's businesses a few times, started from scratch, dove into the deep end, figured things out, created her own systems, and then became invaluable parts of the companies that she joined. So, as it turns out, she's not an amateur. She's a professional, and she's been a professional many times. She's done this before. Even though this is a fresh time for this particular experience, starting this business, she has the experience she needs from working for other people to be able to move forward with her process. All three of these clients already had these examples. They already had this evidence. They just weren't seeing it because of the thoughts they were thinking, because they were discounting the process and the progress and their emotional and energetic capacity where it is right now. All of them, by the end of the session, were able to see where they already have choice. They already have agency. They're already managing and taking action on all of these things. It's just a matter of acknowledging it and not discounting it along the way. What this comes down to, highly sensitive person, is getting out of black and white thinking that if you haven't achieved a result, that you have failed, that you've done something wrong, that you're stuck, that you are not able to move forward, and that you don't know what you're doing. Those are all thoughts that you can choose not to think. You can certainly find evidence to support those thoughts, but you can also find evidence to refute those thoughts as well. There is a gray area, which is where we highly sensitive people thrive. We love nuance. We love subtleties. We love looking into those details and seeing things from different perspectives. Even though your brain is getting into this black and white thinking, your cat brain is trying to claw up the furniture, you can redirect it with a toy from that either or black and white thinking to this gray area where there's a both and. You get to have the life that you want now while you're working towards more of it, while you're working towards a different version of it, while you're working towards a goal result instead of the version that you have right now. Here's an example in my own life. I have wanted to get back into yoga for about a year, even before I had my car accident in August and I broke my wrist and I wasn't able to do that kind of physical activity for a few months. I really wanted to get back into yoga. Recently, I started looking into local studios that are within walking distance or an easy drive from the apartment. I looked into the pricing that it would involve in order to start going to those studios. I got a month-long membership to one of the studios, and I have a trial membership for another of the local studios so that I can see which one I want to choose between. My goal would be to have a regular yoga practice where I go 3 times a week and have a steady routine around it. My step along the way is to go to a drop-in class. It's to get the month-long membership. It's to try out different instructors in different studios and see which one I want. If I tell myself I don't have my dream of having my steady 3-day-a-week yoga routine, then I get discouraged and I don't want to go. When I tell myself I'm trying out different studios, I'm going to these different classes, I'm seeing how I like different instructors, I'm acknowledging what I have and what I'm working towards. I'm experimenting and I'm figuring out what works for me. So whether that's having a beautiful friendship or a romantic partnership, whether that's having the business of your dreams, whether that's changing to a new job, whether that's building a new habit or creating a new pattern or interrupting an old pattern for yourself. No matter what your goal is, acknowledging the steps along the way, that both and, is how you get to live the life that you want to live while you're moving towards a bigger, better version of it. You get to have both at the same time. Here are some of the thoughts that can help you get there. I already have a version of what I want. If you tell yourself that, I bet your brain can find lots of examples of how you already have many of the things you want. It's just not quite the way you envisioned it yet. Yet is the key word here. You might have thoughts like, I can live my life now while moving towards something more. I have some of what I want. You don't have to convince yourself you have everything you want because you don't. You're moving towards a goal or a dream, but you do have some of what you want. Your thought might be, in some ways, my life is exactly how I want it to be. especially if some of the areas of your life are working really, really well and you're very heavily focusing on growing or healing other areas of your life. This is a great compromise that in some ways your life is exactly how you want, and in other ways you're still moving towards what you want. It's the both and. Your thought might be, I choose what to do and what not to do. Or you can borrow my client's thought, I get to make and unmake my decisions whenever I want. I always have choices. I chose how to get here, and I can choose how to get where I want to be. When you think thoughts like that, it feels empowering. It feels free. It feels self-assured. It feels confident. You might feel comfortable. You might feel more calm. Often when my clients have these shifts into these new thoughts, they have this big sigh of relief, and you can see the weight just melt off of them. I've had that very experience myself as well. It's powerful to try on these new perspectives because no matter what you do, you're still moving towards your goals. You're still taking action. You're still doing things every single day. The question is whether you're acknowledging the progress that you're making with those goals or whether you're telling yourself that you're spinning your wheels. If you're telling yourself that you're spinning your wheels, that you're stuck and that you're not going anywhere, your brain will make that happen. It will create those results for you. When you tell yourself, I love what I have right now, I'm taking action towards what I want, and I just want more of what I have, your brain will also make that happen too. That is the combination between woo-woo manifesting, law of attraction, and the neuroscience of your reticular activating system and redirecting your brain towards the things that you want so that you can take practical action towards those things. When you think, I can live my life now while moving towards something more, you feel relieved. When you feel relieved, you can enjoy your life as you have it now. When you do take action towards your goals, it feels powerful and it feels like you're making progress. When you think, I have some of what I want, you might feel that sense of relief. When you feel that sense of relief, you stop beating yourself up, you stop going round and round on the anxiety spiral and the ruminations, and you start taking action. When you think, I choose what to do and what not to do, and you feel more free, then you can choose to rest when it's time to rest, and you can choose to take action when it's time to take action. When you think, I know what I'm doing, or I know what the next step is, then you feel confident. When you feel confident, then you want to take the next step. It doesn't really matter whether it's the perfect step or not, because the perfect step is just taking a step at all. If you are a person who gets caught in the black and white thinking of, if I don't have the result, it doesn't count, today's episode is a good one for you because this is really about what you do have control over. You have control over the way that you see your life. You have control over whether you feel your emotions or don't feel your emotions. And you have control over the actions that you take or you don't take. When you stay stuck in discounting, you stop yourself from taking action and you reinforce that it doesn't count. When you give yourself permission to enjoy what you have and to acknowledge the choices that you've made, you feel relieved, you feel confident, you take action toward the things that you want. Don't let yourself, anytime your cat brain starts to move towards, this doesn't count, it's too much, it's not sustainable, I'm not doing enough, just remember to get out your distraction toy and redirect your brain into these new thoughts. I already have a version of what I want. I know what my next step is. I have some of what I want and I'm moving towards the rest of what I want. I get to make and unmake my decisions whenever I want. This is how you retrain your brain. This is how you acknowledge every step of the way. And it's how you get out of suffering. Because either way, you're taking these actions, but now you're taking them intentionally and you're taking them purposefully because that's the perspective that you have on your actions. When you reach your goal, you actually get to acknowledge it. You actually get to celebrate it. You actually get to see your progress and then reinforce with that evidence who you wanted to become all along. You become that person along the way. And when you reach the result, you get to celebrate with the evidence that you've created for yourself. It starts with you internally, and your external world will reflect what you create internally. So thank goodness we have such powerful internal processors, highly sensitive person, because you can create literally anything that you want to. If this was helpful for you today and you're very curious about this, but you're having thoughts like, yeah, this works great for you or this works great for your clients, but I can't figure out how to do this, book a consultation call with me. I can help you. I would love to help you figure out what thoughts are stopping you from moving forward and how you're discounting the progress that you've made or the choices that you've created so that you can move forward. and make progress. Go to stephanielynn.com, that's Linn, and book a call with me. It's completely free. You leave the conversation with a very clear picture of what's stopping you so that you know exactly how to move forward. And if you want to work with me, that's great. We can talk about next steps to do that. There's no pressure either way, and I know I can help you, whether it's in the consultation call or if you want to work with me too. Again, go to stephanielynn.com and book that call to get started. I hope this episode was helpful to you because this was something that all of my highly sensitive clients needed to hear this week. It's about acknowledging the progress along the way. The path is the journey. The result is not the goal. The goal is to change who you're becoming along the way. When you can reframe your life that way, and when you can take that new perspective, suddenly a lot of your suffering goes away. It doesn't mean that you don't have pain. It doesn't mean that things aren't uncomfortable or difficult. Growing mentally and emotionally in this way can feel deeply uncomfortable, but it's worth it. Because if you're going to live your life anyway, if time is going to pass no matter what, if you're going to take actions and make choices, whether that's inaction or productive action, why not choose the perspective that you want so that you can create that power from within? The sooner you do that, the sooner you start to see those external results. And you have that power at any time, highly sensitive person. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode, and I will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to stephanielynn, that's Linn.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.